So, guys, I was listening to Jim Cornette, and I do understand that he's not really a fan of AEW, and he's also not really, somebody who predicts AEW that well in the sense of like future storylines. But he was kind of suggesting what may happen is that you may have Adam Page win the world title, and then the Young Bucks actually start a tag team. And the reason why and what I want to say is that would be a very horrible plan if that does happen or that's AEW's direction because for a bunch of different reasons. Like I do think Adam Page and the Young Bucks should turn heel, but the way to do it is that they should join actually the Undisputed Era. And if they did something like in a lot of my fantasy bookings, if actually you had Sting retire with the titles and then what happens is Adam Page beats up the Young Bucks, and then you actually have Adam Page and Darby Allin form a team, and then later you realize that there's a betrayal that Adam Page is doing to Darby Allin, and then actually you get to a point, maybe you have a Blood and Guts pay-per-view that you find the Young Bucks and Adam Page and the Undisputed Kingdom are all together. That would be good. So and the reason why I would say that would be a better option is that obviously it's long-term pacing. It's a long-term story versus a short-term story. And then the other thing is that not a lot of people want to see Adam Page as champion right now. So it's kind of like what they say that there's two types of heels. There's get the fuck off my television heel, and then there's actually a heel that gets over like The Rock. And this would go into the category of get the fuck off my television because as I said, I think that, a lot of people are mad with the EVPs and there's a lot of attention on Swerve. So I think what's going to happen is a lot of people are going to be more like, okay, well, here's a guy who wants to be champion even though he cheats his matches, he wants it really, really bad and a bunch of people are behind him and we're going to actually give it to EVPs. And isn't that very similar to CM Punk wanting to go to AEW, be a big box office attraction, really help Collision and be a mentor, and then Jungle Boy upsets him, and CM Punk gets fired, and then there's a lot of attention on how Jungle Boy did not get fired, and in the brawl out where it seemed like the EVPs were the aggressors. Instead of them getting terminated, it actually led to a situation of CM Punk actually leaving the company under termination, and the EVPs actually got to stay, and there's also just really clear evidence that there was like harassment. So it kind of creates that same feeling of, well, the EVPs do what they want, and when there's somebody that people want to see be champion, when there's someone with a lot of attention like Swerve Strickland, you're screwing the pooch with him, and I think that that's going to be what happens. That's why I think giving it to Adam Page will just piss off people. And then the other thing is that, like I've said, that I really, really think that what they need to do with Adam Page is that, as I said, like a slow burn's good with Adam Page, but I also think that another problem is that we may see Swerve versus Adam Page, part 5. This is part 4 with Samoa Joe. Now that we're going to have part 5 in the future. So a lot of people will say, oh, well, it's turning into John Cena and Randy Orton where you're having, over 260 matches, or they can't really push people outside of Swerve and Adam Page in the same feud. So that's not good. And then the other thing that I would say is that, there are going to be people who say, okay, well, Swerve's talking about being the first black champion. The pay-per-view is the first week of March, right after Black History Month, so it would be really good if he actually wins. And then also, he may be the first African-American in AEW history to actually compete for the AEW championship. So definitely it ending with him getting screwed over, people may say AEW is racist, but obviously there is long-term storytelling, so you can't kind of assume that, but that's just not a good look. And then the other thing, too, is that, you want to end this pay-per-view very strongly. Like, as I said, a lot of bad momentum on WWE. They went from Cody versus Roman to Cody versus Roman to Rock versus Roman to Cody versus Roman. and Rock is the heel, and there may be Cody and Rollins versus Rock and Roman Reigns. So that's not good because you are creating a situation. So it's almost like, WWE's in a bit of a clusterfuck, and then they have the McMahon controversy right now. So as I said, you want to strike while the iron is hot, and the best way to do it is just to really have a great show with have a really great Revolution. And like I said, this is really their TNA lockdown 2014 because, WWE was doing very poorly at that time, losing a lot of fans. And then actually, I believe this was also during that, I think this was the WrestleMania 30, if I'm correct, where you actually, yeah, I think it was WrestleMania 30. So actually, you kind of had people mad that The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania. If I have my history correct, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But a lot of people were really mad, and people were mad with Bray Wyatt. So there's a lot of bad attention on WWE at this time. At that time in 2014, they had TNA Lockdown, and that was a bad show when it could have been an A+ show. And that's the thing with Revolution 2024, is that they could have a really bad show. They can have a really good show. They can give us some interesting directions for the next couple of months. Or it could be a show that's very mediocre. And really, as I said, their get out of jail free card is Sting retiring. So there's a lot of attention, and I think it's almost sold out, the show. So, this is really their chance to say, in 2024, this is going to be a great show. Oh, we have Wembley Stadium, and that's like 80,000 people. So we want to make sure that we do better than last year. And other things like that. Like their ultimate goal, I think, for this year should sell out Wembley Stadium and leave that show with no controversy. And if there is a controversy, the punk bitch that does that needs to be fired. And I also will say that, if you really want to make people happy, you don't put the title on Hangman Adam Page. And then the next thing that I will say is Mercedes Moné. That there could be a Mercedes Moné get out of jail free card. So if the show's not well received, then they can say, okay, we're going to have a great show in Boston. And I don't want that for AEW in the sense that it's almost like, okay, well, you guys made a controversial decision. It's not well received, so you're just going to have another great show or debut somebody. Because it feels like ultimately you're just you're ultimately just covering up a problem with a signing, and they can't really do that because then it just says, okay, well, it may pop people for 2 or 3 weeks, and then now that person's now mediocre and whatever. So that's all I gotta say, really. I think that, as I said, Swerve would be the best choice. The safest choice will be Samoa Joe, and the worst choice you do is Adam Page. And for those reasons, especially, as I said, he's really more associated with the EVPs. So a lot of people can say it's nepotism. The other thing is that if they want the Young Bucks to be the tag team champions and Adam Page to be the champion, there's a better way to do it than just doing it all at this pay-per-view. And then the other issue is that you have the Undisputed Kingdom, who should be your top heel faction, and they need a lot of work to actually be top heels because you did too much MJF comedy with them. That this is not the way to do it by having a heel faction actually have all their success. A heel faction that has all their successes, really. Or now you're gonna have 2 top heel factions, and one can't get over the Undisputed Kingdom because they're a comedy act, and then the Elite, where they can't get over because people are reminded of CM Punk getting fired, and then honestly it came out of random, and it feels very, very random, that they came in. Like there's really no reason for them to kind of have a beef with anybody. There should have been something layered for a very, very long time. It just feels like one week the EVPs decided to be entitled, and then a few weeks later they just disrupted the match. So that's not good storytelling. It really feels out of the blue. So that's not good long-term storytelling. So it's just. So I just think that you put the title on Adam Page, that's going to really upset a lot of people. It's not going to get the result that they want. And if you want to do a pay-per-view where you may say, okay, we want to end things with the villains winning, this is not the way to do it. Like I've said, that I think that if they actually hold off on things and they build up some twists and turns and swerves and all that stuff, they can easily have Double or Nothing, or if they do my idea of having a Blood and Guts pay-per-view, that's kind of when they should actually, combine the Undisputed Kingdom and the Elite. And then that's when I think you can do a show with an ending where heels win, because that's important. You need to do shows like that because that's more true to real life. Not the good guys don't always win. And then the next thing that I will say is that really with Revolution, it really is supposed to be Sting's final match. So having it end with a bunch of heels winning, and it's actually people associated with the CM Punk controversy, and it's kind of a metaphor for entitlement and double standards. What are you going to do? You're going to have Chris Jericho win on the card, and then maybe he says, you know what, I'm Chris Jericho, I'm a rock star, I do whatever I want, and then he's actually chasing some women backstage in a promo, and then what happens is Sammy Guevara says, I'm going to rape the competition. And then what happens then after that, Tony Khan says, okay, chill, you guys. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. And then you're going to have Adam Page beat Swerve Strickland and Samoa Joe and use the Young Bucks. So it creates a visual of the Young Bucks ruling over everybody. And then also you're going to have Sting lose to Sting Darby lose to the Young Bucks. And the same idea that the EVPs cheat and they've not really had that many matches, so they're going to get their way while you're using a ranking system on everybody else. That does not translate to that translates to heels, but that's not going to translate to what AEW needs to do with its heels for them to get over. Their heels really need some more long-term booking, long-term storytelling, and to be booked seriously. So. And I've said that before, like Undisputed Kingdom, they should have competed in the Continental Classic. They should have had maybe a Blood and Guts match with MJF to actually be on his side and be his compadre. But you don't do comedy shit. And then also, too, that really with the Young Bucks and the EVPs, there is some storytelling elements for them to be heels, but they should have had, but rushing it in Revolution is not the way to do it. Making them kind of backstabby people, or as I said, like you make a team of Darby and Adam Page and you have them wrestle for a couple of months, then Adam Page betrays Darby, or it's set up so maybe the Young Bucks beat up Adam Page and Darby, and then it's revealed that they were kind of either doing it for real to make it look real, or it was all like fake and staged on Adam Page, and then they turn heel, whatever. That would be the way to do it, because that's more long term. And it's not like doing too... And I also think that's the other issue. You don't want to do too much with the show. This really should be about Sting's retirement and people celebrating his career and talking greatly of him and doing matches that are tributes to Sting or WCW by having coffin matches, bull rope matches, maybe Chamber of Horrors or other things that he's been part of, or other types of matches. And having, Big Show, Ric Flair, and a few other of Sting's opponents, even Bret Hart and other people from WCW, or people who actually faced him on the show, or talking or congratulating, or even do a Sting Hall of Fame. That's what this show needs to be about. Doing all those heel turns might just take away from it, or it may just be trying to do too much, and then it just becomes too much of a tonal shift between serious to not over heels, trying to go the next direction in AEW. So I think for all purposes, Adam Page winning the world title at Revolution would be a very bad idea.